Okay, so after Real Salt Lake was eliminated from the 2022 playoffs, MLS Cup playoffs, I believe the owner was Ryan Smith. And I saw some video, or it was a recording or an interview, and I can't remember what he fully said, but in summary, I believe he was saying that he wants his team to be taken serious, that he wants to win championships, that he wants to be a real contender in MLS. Well, Ryan Smith, that desire that you have can come to fruition starting Saturday night against the Seattle Sounders in MLS After Dark. You see, Real Salt Lake, you're in a good situation early this season because both of your games are on the national spotlight. You played in MLS After Dark in week 1, and you're playing in MLS After Dark in week 2. MLS After Dark is a national streaming it's a national streaming broadcast. Because the game is on Apple TV, everybody's able to watch it from every part of the world, every part of the country, various territories. So MLS After Dark is not it hasn't been marketed as a marquee event yet. I expect it to be sometime before 2026. It'll either be in 2024 or 2025. But this season, I'm going to try to treat most, I can't say each, but most MLS After Dark matches, I'm going to treat it as a marquee event. So because we're so early in the season and everybody's a contender right now, MLS After Dark Week 2 is a marquee game. Real Salt Lake, let me tell you something about your opponent, the Seattle Sounders. They don't want to admit it. They won't say it. But their championship window recently closed in the FIFA Club World Cup against Al Ahly of Egypt. The thing I noticed in that game was, they played good defense, and they played hard in the first half. In the second half, they came out flat. And that flatness is what led to them losing. But the championship window is not the championship window is not closed because of that. And it's not only closed because they lost. That team that played in the Club World Cup mirrored the same team from last year. Start off strong, finish weak. Inconsistency. Now, their week 1 game against Colorado, they look completely different. And they look like a team that is a championship contender. They look like a team that will be back in the CCL next year. They really did. But Salt Lake, if I'm you, I wouldn't buy that. And I'm personally not buying that week 1 match. Because Colorado is the worst team in MLS. As a matter of fact, they're one of the worst teams in American soccer. There's a couple USL teams that are 10 times better than the Colorado Rapids. In my opinion, every team should score at least 2 goals against the Colorado Rapids this season. Colorado Rapids need a complete makeover. They need an entire new ownership group. The organization is just a mess right now. See, Real Salt Lake, MLS did you a favor this season. Because not only do you start the first 2 weeks in a MLS After Dark matchup, but you play the Cascadia boys twice. So it is your opportunity to show the nation, to show the MLS world that you're a serious contender. Because what I've continued to say is the top 9 teams in the West should be the Cali boys, the Texas boys, and the Cascadia boys. So then, where do you lie in all of this discussion when it comes to top teams? Salt Lake, you can be the disruptor. You can be the team that proves me wrong. You can be the team that spoils my analytics and my analysis in saying that the top 9 teams in the West should be Cali boys, Texas boys, Cascadia boys. You can really mess things up for all the big popular cities out west. Salt Lake, if you don't know what a disruptor is, let me explain to you what a disruptor is. A disruptor is someone who destroys expectation. A disruptor is someone who's an arch nemesis to the popular vote, the popular crowd. When a large group of people want X amount of certain teams to be in the playoffs, the disruptor comes in and say, not so fast. We're going to do something about that. A disruptor is one who destroys expectations. A disruptor is one who makes the bettors and the people in Vegas angry, because the people and the sports bettors in Vegas are expecting LAFC, LA Galaxy, Austin, Seattle to be the top teams in the West, Portland to be the top teams in the West. But then the disruptor, Real Salt Lake, comes in and say, oh no, you can't leave our name out of that. We're going to make you regret. We're going to make you pay for leaving our name out of the championship contender conversation. So that's what you're going to be, Real Salt Lake. You be the disruptor. And it'll start on Saturday night in Seattle. Now look at that. You start off week 1. You play in Vancouver. You win in Vancouver. Week 2, you're in Seattle. And you must win. The reason why this is a must win for you, Salt Lake, because you're playing for respect. Salt Lake, remember what I told you in Monologue Book 1. You gain your respect by winning on the road. You don't gain your respect by winning in altitude. It's because you're expected to win in altitude. You have a perfect home field advantage. Well, you have a better home field advantage than about 95, 98%, 99% of the teams in MLS. The other team being Colorado Rapids. Both of y'all playing altitude. As a result of that, your respect is gained on the road. Similar to how you went to New England and beat them in a freezing cold weather last year. We need to see more dominant performances on the road at LAFC, at LA Galaxy, at Seattle, at Portland, at Houston, at Dallas, at Austin, at Kansas City, at Atlanta, at New York City, Yankee Stadium. Here's another interesting point, Real Salt Lake. Because you play in altitude, your quality of play might mirror some of the Liga MX teams that play in Mexico City and have to deal with altitude. Therefore, the expectation is for us to see you. We should see you in the Leagues Cup many years. Real Salt Lake, you should be a common face in the CCL. There's no excuse. You already have the advantage with the altitude. So you're always going to win a lot of games at home. The main focus for you is winning on the road and winning in convincing factor. convincing people on the road that you are a legitimate contender, Real Salt Lake. So, Real Salt Lake, the Seattle Sounders championship window is closed. How about you start your championship window in MLS After Dark, Saturday night? How about you start your championship window tonight against the face of MLS, against the most historic team in MLS history, against the best team in MLS history, against the most accomplished team in MLS history? How about you start your era of success against the most successful team in the league? It's possible. It's possible. So, Real Salt Lake, this is another thing that you have to realize. You have to become more active in the summer transfer market. The summer transfer market, the winter transfer market. You have to be more aggressive than LAFC. You have to be more aggressive than Toronto. You have to be more aggressive than Atlanta, Miami. Why? Because you play in a small market. A lot of people don't know who you are. And Salt Lake City is not a destination city. So therefore, you have to work extra harder than the LA boys. You have to work extra harder than San Jose and Houston and Austin. You have to. Don't be like the Seattle Sounders. One of the reasons why the Seattle Sounders championship window closed recently is because they have become too complacent. They haven't realized that the MLS game has changed. That you can't just coast through an entire regular season and then try to make a late comeback and expect to make the playoffs. With this rule change now, you'll be lucky to get an 8 or 9 seed. But the way that teams play now, teams are not playing to tie the game. Teams want to win because teams are realizing that there are multiple chances available for them to win a championship. It's no longer about just Supporter Shield and MLS Cup title. You got US Open Cup. You got Leagues Cup. You got CCL. You got Campeones Cup. As a result of that, teams want to be fresh and competitive and ready to win at all times. So Real Salt Lake, you can't be complacent. Just because it's week 2, that doesn't mean you should have a mindset that, as long as we just get a draw, we draw the game in Seattle, we can build off that. No, Salt Lake, you're a disruptor. The disruptor does not believe in mental victories. The disruptor wants to piss people off. The disruptor wants to make people uncomfortable. And that is your job. Remember, Salt Lake, you're not expected to be a top 9 seed in the West. The top teams in the West are expected to be the 3 Cali boys, the 3 Texas boys, and the 3 Cascadia boys. Everybody else in the West is expected to be nothing. They're just expected to just be around. But what you can do, and you and the other teams, not only you, but you and Kansas City and Minnesota, y'all can be the disruptors. Look at what St. Louis did in week 1. St. Louis, it was their first ever game against Austin. And they're already looking like a disruptor. So Salt Lake, tonight, MLS After Dark week 2, Seattle, Washington. Come with your A game. Be the disruptor. And let this be the beginning of a championship era for the Real Salt Lake Football Club.